A number of sexual assaults in the area in just the past couple of weeks. We hear about the attacks from police, but it's not often we hear from the victim. And in most cases, it's because they're afraid. Tonight, a young woman is sharing her story with us in hopes of helping other victims to stand up. And I found out she's getting a little help from some high-powered people. At just 17, Jane Doe is a new mom.
I love it, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, but it is very, very hard.
The pregnancy wasn't planned.
Definitely didn't want a child this soon.
On March 18th of 2008, Jane says she was raped. It's why we're concealing her identity.
He had my neck pinned down to the ground, and I remember having my hands on his forearms, trying to stop him if he was going to try to choke me.
She said the attack happened on a college campus. She stepped out of class to use the bathroom. Before she knew it, feet were sliding under the stall.
I thought he had taken a knife and just cut me. It hurt so bad. I didn't know what he had done. I didn't know.
Frozen in fear, she didn't move until she heard her attacker leave. She cleaned up, went back to class, and tried to forget what happened. That is until several months later when she found out she was carrying a 19-week-old child.
I didn't feel like I did all my best to try to stop him. So that's why I kept it from everybody. You know, I didn't want them to think I was weak.
Ashamed and shocked, 54% of rape victims never report the crime to police. That's according to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, or RAIN, the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization. It took a pregnancy for Jane to finally come forward.
If you will, put yourself in someone's that position, that you have had the most heinous crime committed against you. It's very personal. Many victims feel very embarrassed to talk about it. They are embarrassed. They don't want their family to know.
Making that decision to seek justice isn't easy, which is why what you're about to see next is so troubling. Based on FBI uniform crime reports, out of every 100 rapes, only 12 lead to an arrest. See, it all boils down to being able to prove it. We're talking physical evidence, proof it wasn't consensual and that force was used. And that's only if the attacker's identity is known. Experts say regardless of these devastating statistics, coming forward is step one of the healing process, especially if a child is conceived like in Jane's case.
The House will come to order.
You know, Florida lawmakers are weighing in on this one, too. On April 24th, the Florida House and Senate unanimously passed legislation they hope will enable alleged victims to stand up.
A rapist, and they've done this in the past, they'll use that ability to assert their parental rights to convince the victim not to file criminal charges, or if they have already, not to go forward with the prosecution.
See, based on current law in Florida, the courts can strip a parent of their parental rights if the termination is in the best interest of the child, but that doesn't include rape. Florida's Democratic Representative Dave Kerner says it just doesn't make sense.
If the woman knows that she's going to have to deal with her rapist through the parental rights provision after she has a baby, it's easier to just have an abortion, and especially after just being traumatized and raped. I'm hopeful that it'll allow women to make that decision, knowing that they can terminate their rights.
Representative Kerner sponsored SB 964 after he was alerted about this law in a message on Facebook. It easily worked its way through the legislature and is expected to be signed into law. That's good news for people like Jane.
He took that one day away from me, and I didn't tell somebody for 4 months, and that's enough. Like, I'm just tired of him playing a huge role in my life. You know, he's not going to take any more days from me.
Once signed into law, the new measure would take effect July 1st and apply to all unlawful acts of sexual battery occurring before, on, or after that date. And it doesn't matter if there's a conviction. So far, there's no such movement to pass a similar law in Alabama. Getting back to Jane, her case hasn't been solved yet. She filed a report with Pensacola Police, but tells me she's decided to put that case on hold until she figures out her next step. If you have been a victim of rape, we have a couple of telephone numbers you can call to get help. The Rape Crisis Hotline is always open if you live in Mobile. The telephone number is 473-7273. Outside of the Mobile area, you can call 800-718-7273.